Reflection pages. The critical website. EU-Sanctions against individuals as symptom of a structural democratic deficit. By Torsten Kullig. The European Union sees itself as legal community, but precisely where she acts particularly decisively will be this. Self-description fragile. The practice of sanctioning individuals is an example of how, like political, step-by-step crackdown on the rule of law, fuses displaced the European one. Union does not primarily suffer from a lack consent, but to an institutional structure in the central decisions outside of democratically legitimized procedures. Be hit. The fundamental evil of the EU continues to be that it is at European Parliament by no means acts as a full-fledged legislator. Decisive initiatives with fundamental importance lies with the executive bodies European Union and European Council. Back in 2018, I spoke in an interview in the book We Need It. Europe, Saxony in the EU. The EU's democratic deficit is described as structural. Central decisions are met in committees, which are only indirectly democratically legitimized, while the European Parliament has none, has full legislative sovereignty. This structure not only affects political acceptance, but recognizable, increasreasingly threatening and negative. The protection of fundamental rights. EU sanctions against natural persons have a deep impact on property, freedom of movement and more economical existence, although they are not criminal proceedings, but they are still without upstream judicial control. Imposed and contain significant fundamental rights restrictions for those affected, the legal protection after. Article 47 of EU Basic Law only comes into effect after the damage has occurred. This makes it classic constitutional principle reversed. The state does not have to prove guilt, but rather the person concerned claims his innocence. A central aspect of Roman right was and is that the burden of proof lay with the accusing party, not with the defendant. Already over 2000 ago, the defendant didn't have to be his for years, prove innocence, but the prosecution had to prove his guilt. The famous Latin principle dubio pro, in case of doubt for the defendant, summarizes this idea succinctly. It states that a court may not convict a person if after the evidence still leaves serious doubts about her guilt. This, the European Union's sanctioning practice, is not a legal industrial accident, but an expression of a systematic one. Imbalance in the EU, the acronym EU stands here obviously not for European, but for Executive Union. But where democratic control is weak, legal protection is made functional. This gives citizens the impression that fundamental rights are negotiable, depending on the geopolitical situation, political will and the respective zeitgeist. The European Union needs nothing less but more rule of law, and this is without not having real grassroots democratic support. The EU from above is one elite project will and must fail. Anyone who loves Europe must have this. Reject Executive Union. What we need is an EU from below. Europe of free citizens. This audio could only come about because numerous readers promote thoughtful pages and through donations. Support. If you also want to do something, click. Simply press the corresponding button on our website. By the way, you can also contact us on iTunes. Listen to SoundCloud and YouTube, and if you like our channel, subscribe and leave us a positive review. We are happy about your support and the redistribution of our content.